access control policy is a central clean house for nearly all traffic possessed by secure firewall. It is what determines whether traffic is allowed, blocked, trusted, or inspected. In this scenario, we will configure access control policies, threat inspection, and other settings. The first task, we're going to edit the global parent policy, and we're going to add a decryption policy, and we're going to configure logging and enforce specific inheritance settings. Second task, we're going to enable security intelligence to block all Talos threats feeds from IP, URL, and the DNS. This third task, we're going to configure still the global parent policy, recommend advanced settings. Fourth, we're going to configure the NGFW1 policy advanced settings. Okay, let's get to it. First task, let's navigate to policy and access control. We have our global parent and NGFW policies previously created. We'll start by configuring the global parent setting. Let's click the pencil icon to edit the global parent policy. At the top of the policy, let's click decryption and select decryption outbound policy. Let's click early application detection and URL categorization. Okay, you will see the comments here for this option. Next, let's click apply that, and we're gonna click more, then logging. In the logging allows to using a specific log, syslog alerts, or using settings in the platform setting policy. We'll configure system to send syslog alerts from the device. Using the platform settings, we recommend configured earlier. Let's click the box marked using use syslog setting configured in FTD platform settings policy deployed on the device. Okay, and we're going to send Cisco syslog alert. Using this, and we're going to check IPS, find the malware settings. I'll send the syslog event, and click back to the logging and inherit settings. Here behaves differently from the base and child policies. For the base policies like this one, it determines how settings will be enforced with no overrides allowed for the child policies. If this was a child policy, it would allow selection of the base policy. Since this is the base policy, let's check the following box to allow all child policies inherited for selected settings. First, we're going to check is security, intelligence, and logging setting, and go down. We're going to check the TLC server, identity discovery, network analysis, file and malware settings, encrypted visible engine, Okay. Next, we'll go ahead and enable security intelligence. Let's click security intelligence. Security intelligence consists of 3 types of protection: the IP, URL, and DNS. We will configure blocking for all 3 SI types above for all of the Taro's feeds category. On the left side, under networks, we're going to scroll down and select all entries between attackers and Tor exists node. What I mean that is the attackers. Let's add to block list and TOR I might do one more thing. Attackers, between the attackers, let me see. Attackers, everything. Alright, let's ensure any is selected under available zones, and we're going to block all of this. Should be added to the block list. Let's click the page icon next to the network. This page icon. We're going to check the syslog server box to log these events to syslog server in addition to the FMC. Click OK. On the left side of the page, let's click URLs, tab under available objects. What I mean is the URL. In the same manner, what I'm gonna do is the find attacker, attack URL, and Tor exists, and we're going to add to the block list. Also, click the page button. We're going to enable the logging server. So the last type of security intelligence for the DNS queries, this has its own policy. In the upper left corner under DNS protection, let's click a pencil icon to add its default DNS policy. This will open the policy in the new browser tab. So DNS security intelligence offers more options than just blocking DNS lookups. We can alert, return domain not found response, or even return a sinkhole response. So for a device, we will configure domain not found response for all of the Talos category. Let's click add DNS rule. The name will be block bat DNS, and action we want is the domain not found. Click DNS tab. I will select all but the 2 global entries. For example, DNS TAC to DNS between DNS tour exists none. Okay, everything between here. Let's click add to the loop and save the DNS policy. Let's close the browser tab and return to access control policy. Save it. So let's click a page next to DNS policy and configure login to syslog as with the other 2 SI type above. Also click this log server. All right, let's click OK, and then we're gonna save my access control policy. This will ensure I don't lose our changes, since we will continue editing the policy. I can see why it's easier to configure security intelligence in base policy rather than to repeat these steps for each new access control policy. Also, adding future changes to security intelligence will only need to be changed here to affect the all child policies. So that's our second task. Third task will configure some advanced settings. Let's click more and advanced setting. So earlier we selected the 4 areas in advanced settings that would not allow overrides for base policy. Will now configure these so we can encourage the by the child policy. The first one is the TLS server identity discovery. So and this is well configured, and we'll configure is the network or see network unless intrusion policy, file, and next one is the file malware settings, encrypt visible engine. Where's encrypt visible engine? So let's first find TLS server identity discovery feature on the site page. Then this already enabled. So this is because we checked this option when we configured the encryption policy earlier. So further down to the left, we'll see network unless intrusion policy. So this feature, well, let's click the pencil to add it to the settings. So let's click the drop down to intrusion policy used before access control rule is determined. We're under user I see. Excuse me. Next section we'll talk about the access control rules. So at last we are at the point of creating firewall rule set. We will create a few example access control rules to illustrates these capabilities. So the actual rule sets will vary greatly depending on the device development use case. For an inline IPS, I might only have a handful of rules, or for a large edge firewall, the rule count may be in the thousands. The task 1, we're going to create a rule to block the outbound connections to China or Russian Federation. Okay. And second, we'll create a rule to block application with a very high risk and very low business relevance. Third, we're gonna create a rule to block malicious and malware and the porn websites. And 4, we're going to add a custom intrusion policy, variables, variable set, and the file malware policy to inspect and all allowed connections. For that, let's return. And click the pencil. So there are 2 views in the new UI layout. We'll click the grid button just right here. This column button on the right allows me to show or hide columns, right? So there are several default rules categories. Each policy has a mandatory and default rule category. Additional categories can be added as desired. Because this is a child policy, we see parent rule categories as well. Rules in global parent policy mandatory category are evaluated before any rule in NGFW1 policy. Also, rules in default global parent category are evaluated after any rules in NGFW1 policy and before default action. So our policy will deal with outbound traffic only. We will create several rules to control outbound connections. Our goals are log all connection events to Splunk syslog server, but not to FMC. We're going to lock any blocked connections to the FMC and the Splunk server. We'll block connections to specific geolocations. We're going to block connection to URL categories. Block connection for specific applications, and we inspect all allowed traffic using a snort as well as check for malware files. So at the bottom, let's click default action. Default action is set to global parents default action. Let's change this to access control, block all traffic. Okay. We're gonna click the gear icon to the right. Okay. We're gonna to log at the beginning of the connection and the syslog box. And we'll click apply. We only have the option to log at the beginning of the connection. This is true for all block rules, as the beginning of the connection is also the end. So let's do the task 1. Okay, we're gonna do a geolocation block rule. Okay, let's click add a rule. So the name Lu would be a geolocation block. The action will be block with reset. Logging, we're going to log at the beginning of connection. Click the syslog server, confirm. In the zone tab, we're going to add all zone to the destination zone. And we're going to add China and the Russian Federation to the destination network. Click geolocations. China. Russian Federation. Okay. And let's click apply. The second task is to block URL. What create is the block URL category. We'll create a rule named as block URL category. And we're gonna add a rule to block connections to following URL category. Gonna malicious sites, malware sites, pornography. That's include the same destination and a logging option at the previous rule. So destination and URLs. Malicious site at and malware sites, also pornographic sites. Let's click apply. And check the logging. Apply. Okay. The third task is to block application. We're gonna name it as block application rule. Blocked application. So configure the rule. We're gonna to use the similar all zone and the logging. Let's go to application. We're gonna find risk very high, and also business relevant very low. Click apply. Next, there is to inspect using IPS and malware. Okay, this we're gonna to edit the allow outbound loop, we're gonna select intrusion policy to user created balanced intrusion policy here, and we're gonna use the lab snooper available. We're gonna select a policy to block malware. We're gonna set a logging to log the events at the end of the connection, and we're gonna choose syslog at the end. Syslog. So the logging settings here control connection and a fire event. Intrusion and malware events will always be logged to the FMC. Also, adding additional logging configures in the policy logging setting. Also, connection events associated with malware or an intrusion event will also always be logged to the FMC. So as we added rules, we did not pay attention to rule order because we have a small rule set. It will be easy to drag and rule into desired order. However, with a larger rule set, it would be better to specify the rule position as the rules is created. So we're gonna drag a rule in my policy into order below. So keep all my rules in mandatory category. Okay, let's apply this first. So first rule, let's make it to the first geolocation block and drag the allow outbound to the last. We're gonna block URL, block application, and allow outbound for IPS. So let's save my access control policy and click deploy. Okay, next, encrypted visibility engine. The encrypted visibility engine EVE is used to provide more visibility into encrypted sessions without the need to decrypt them. So the previous version, EVE had only a toggle button to enable disable. Version 7.4 onward, traffic learned via EVE can also be blocked based on encrypted visibility threat score. So this lab we will block EVE traffic based on the threat score. So the increased visibility into clients, applications, processes, and other details of the host. We're going to block the connections by malware process. It will decrease the burden on security device as less traffic needs to be decrypted. I'm going to review connection events and add the EVE configuration and validate block events with unified event viewer. So let's go view the events. Go ahead, go to analysis, find the connection and connection events. Go to table view, connection events. Let's click X against cancel button against any column and add columns, and we're gonna go ahead gonna only keep the encrypted visibility fingerprint. All column what we need. Here you go. Encrypted, encrypted, encrypted. Name, confidence score, apply. So these fields are populated to the extreme right, for which I have to drag the scoreboard to the extreme right. I can also disable necessary columns by clicking on the cancel against the adding column and unchecking the unnecessary columns. Okay, so that's a future the device. That's future device name is ngfwtg. Click search. That's final action is to block any traffic with encrypted visibility threat confidence score greater than or equal to 99. We're gonna feature with a reason encrypted visibility block under search solution and general information right here. Let's go to analysis and unified events. So here you see all the blocked traffic.
Hey everyone, NetMaven here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to dive into the world of amazing network technologies with me, and please feel free to leave your comments below. Hey everyone, NetMaven here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to dive into the world of amazing network technologies with me, and please feel free to leave your comments below.